Hey guys, what's up? And today I'm gonna do a review on one of my favorite albums of 2017. And, yeah, yeah, it is Father John Misty's Pure Comedy. So, Father John Misty, if you don't know him, he is Josh Tillman. Period. So Josh Tillman is an indie folk singer-songwriter who joined the band Fleet Foxes, which, by the way, is one of my favorite folk bands of all times. And he wasn't the frontman; he was actually the drummer. But he actually did a pretty good job in Fleet Foxes until he left the band and continued doing solo projects under the name Father John Misty. So, Father John Misty is also known as Farmer John Misery, Papa John Lunchmeat, Feather Jam Ministry, Fucking Jerk Missed Me, Faster Juan, Whiskey, Fava Bean Pepsi, or I would prefer Father Conspiracy. Just kidding. So this album is a freaking huge album, running for 1 hour and 14 minutes. And basically on this album, he tells the problem of our human race. He talks about the pros and cons, mostly cons, about humanity and humanity right now in this current moment in history. He describes it with a lot of effort and mind and thought. And no matter is it political or social, he's always preaching about how shitty the world right now is. But at the same time, he's also telling us to not worry about it too much, because sometimes you get too attached to these shitty things and you become shitty yourself. So the album starts off with Pure Comedy, which is a really stale piano song, which starts off the album really nicely and peacefully.
The comedy of man starts like this. Our brains are way too big for our mother's hips.
Pure Comedy talks about, there are actually flaws in humanity naturally, so it's not really our fault that humanity sucks. And Pure Comedy also talks about and deals with the current presidency of Donald Trump, like at least indirectly. And it also talks about how dumb and how mindless we get towards these politics and social problems and issues. And that's pretty much the song, which makes the song actually really nice. It's like Father John Misty's ranting, but it is covered by a song, and it is covered by very peaceful and ruminating music, which makes the song really special to me, and I'm sure it's special to a lot of other people too. And I also like the song Total Entertainment Forever, which has a funny music video. So Josh kind of explores his sense of humor on both the song and the music video, and he talks about wearing the Oculus Rift and betting with Taylor Swift, and it's really dumb and shitty, but that's what humans doing, and everyone's trying to keep themselves entertained, and it's there's that. And I also kind of like the instrumentals on this thing with those celebratory pianos and horns and guitars, which makes this song very peppy and lively, and it also goes really quick, so it's really smooth and soothing.
Now the future's definition is so much higher than it was last year. It's like the images have all become real, and someone's living my life for me out in the field.
And the song, things it would have been helpful to know before the revolution, is a more ruminative and moody and slightly darker piano song, which talks about, assume there's a society and the society has overthrown their government, what would they do? It's gonna be like many, many, many years ago, hundreds, thousands, millions years ago, probably not million, but thousands, centuries ago. And, what is us without a government? And that would be helpful to know before the revolution. And I think that's pretty smart and brilliant. And also, one of my favorites of Josh so far is the very relaxing and soothing Ballad of the Dying Men, which is also very catchy. And it's basically about people who were so in love with their own ideas and opinions. They were dying, but they were still checking their own newsfeed just in case if they miss something. And it pokes fun at people who takes themselves a bit too seriously, which is one of the things that are special about this album, because not only does it show how shitty the world right now is, but it also shows you that if you think the world is so shitty constantly, then you'll get dumb too. So don't take yourself too seriously. Just be natural, because these shitty things, these flaws in humanity, it's almost completely natural. And not that it's okay to be dumb, it's okay to be mindless, but you can't do much to fix us humans. So I think the message is really good and the concept is really good on the song.
No time at all. This will be the distant past.
And Father John Misty kind of escapes all the problems on humanity right now on the song Birdie. Again, birds, which kind of symbolizes freedom, and it's a natural and cool little song that leads to a brutal but also sad and personal and intimate leaving LA, which is 13 minutes long. And it at first it's minimalistic with these strings and a little bit guitars, and then it gets really grand and epic and emotional, which is something special.
These LA phonies and their bullshit bands, it sound like dollar signs and Amy Grant.
A Bigger Paper Bag has a slightly awkward intro, but doesn't mean it's bad. It actually takes a few listens for me to actually enjoy the song, but it's actually kind of good. So basically, A Bigger Paper Bag is basically about using alcohol and drugs to build up your own ego and self-confidence. And I guess it's also kind of sad and tragic, but it's also real and authentic. And I also like the really nocturnal and somber strings. And the song, When God Returns There Is Hell to Pay, is a more gospelized and straight and simple song. And it is basically God comes to earth, and not really comes to earth, more like God is disgusted by the world, by its problems, but it kind of backfired on God, and everyone was like, the world is already so shitty, what could we possibly do to fix us right now? So it kind of reflects on how natural and how authentic these social and political problems we are having. And not that we can just stand by and watch as the world burns, but this is what it is. And I do understand the concept of this song, but it's not too friendly. There are also a couple of slightly underwhelming songs, but doesn't mean it's bad or it's just dumb or it's terrible. it's actually good songs, but they're just relatively underwhelming. So they are still great compared to many other songs right now. Songs like Smoochie is probably the most underwhelming song on the album. It's basically his wife encouraging him, to stand together and not fall apart, basically. And I guess it's not deep enough. Father John Misty just kind of wrote some lyrics, just wrote a little bit about, his personal life and his wife cheering him up after he thought of so many things about the world. Like, it feels like he's carrying the world not on his shoulders, but on his mind, and it's like a projection of the world. So he's thinking about the world and its social and political and even religious situations and issues, and all those thoughts are too overwhelming, and he kind of needs some encouragement and cheering up. And the concept is okay, but it needs some more, I guess, polishing. And the song Two Wildly Different Perspectives is about how polarizing the world is, and everyone is poles apart, and there's all sorts of different opinions and thoughts everywhere on the world right now. And this song also feels a little bit surface, and it doesn't grow on me that deeply. And music wise, it's also not that impressive, but I think both Smoochie and this song also goes really well on the album and makes it more complete and cohesive. And the album ends off with two songs. I'm gonna say two songs because first one would be "So I'm Growing Old on Magic Mountain," which is a grand ballad, 9 minutes long, about growing up, aging, and Father John Misty wish he would, take advantage of his time when he was younger. And right now I'm still 15 years old, and I'm not too relatable to, aging and stuff. But it's still a deep and ruminative and thoughtful song that leads up to a very grandiose finale. And then we have 20 Years or So, which is a more country infused, a more relaxing song at the end, which is surprising because instead of this climactic ending, it sounds more like an epilogue. It's more quiet, and it's more, yeah, there's that. And the song 20 Years or So also tells us that, yes, it's, yeah, the world is really shitty, but it doesn't really matter because someday in the future the world is either getting worse or getting better. Who knows? It's just humanity. It's how the world works. So it doesn't really matter. At the end, it doesn't really matter. It's like the ending of Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. And I also kind of like the distorted and experimental sounds on the memo, and it's also one of the more gospelized, simple and straight songs that I think is pretty good. So overall, Father John Misty really had a lot to say about the world right now on this album, and he really summarizes them in verses and verses and verses and choruses and choruses and choruses, and it feels like a rant, but it's also really mature and methodic and thoughtful rant that makes a hell lot of sense. And the album is really well recorded. The production is excellent, and overall it feels very airy, open, and it's gorgeous. It's pretty. It's relaxing, but it's also grand and huge in scale. And it's also Father John Misty's least poppiest record. Yeah, it's a dense listen, and it takes a lot of listens for me in order to enjoy the album, but as time goes by, it really grows on me, and I'm enjoying this album more and more and more. And I also like the tender and lavish guitars, the really relaxing and soothing synthesizers, the fiery and passionate pianos. The lyrics are also amazing, impressive, and impeccable as well. I like the gospel, country, and folk and indie fusion. in the sounds, and overall this album is theatrical, it's dramatic, it's like a documentary, and it has a lot of personality to it, which makes it charismatic also. And this album is really realistic and authentic. It's crazy. And it also has its intimate and personal moments. It has funny moments and sad moments, like the world right now. And it's like a soundtrack to the entire world's current situation right now. And just by looking at the album art, the cover, you really feel this overwhelming sense of everyone and everything happening at the same time, which is very grand and calm, and it's like watching humanity in a bird's eyes view, which is brilliant and just galactic in a very humane way. Just just look at the album cover. It's one of the bests of the year. Featuring the very dark blue night sky and the crowd of people just being who they are. So overall, I love this album. The worst is Smoochie, and the best is, I guess my favorite one would be Pure Comedy, title track. I'm giving Father John Misty's Pure Comedy a 9 out of 10. So, have you listened to this album? From 1 to 10, how much would you rate it? Like if you like, and subscribe if you want more.